first, I want to bring out Ryan Rohrman, the CEO from Rohrman Auto Group.
Mike, it's good to see you, buddy.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate
absolutely.
it. Yeah.
Next up, Patrick Crosby, the Alliance Lead from Snowflake.
Thanks, buddy.
Patrick will be the quietest one of the three of us. Not that you knew who was coming in first. All right, guys. No more clickers. All right. How you guys doing?
Good.
You having fun?
Yeah,
good.
Absolutely.
Ryan, give us a quick overview of the automotive space, some of the challenges, some of the things you guys are focusing, and the risks of bad data.
Yeah, so I'm the CEO of the Rohrman Automotive Group. We have 20 stores in the Midwest, Chicago, Indiana, and Wisconsin. And so about 13, 14 months ago, we started down this journey of we need to own our data. And it has been just completely eye-opening. So the first thing, being here amongst all the peers in this room, it's been crazy because I just realized how far behind automotive is compared to other spaces. Like, we are so far behind. I was talking to Patrick behind the curtain, and I was like, we're talking about data lake, Snowflake, and he's like, yeah, you need to do this. And I was like, yeah, but we first need to get our data in a place that is actually clean and we can use it. So in the automotive space, we have a DMS where that's where our data lives. We can't write back to it. So 14 months ago, we cleansed and enriched our data. I found out that we had 48% of our data was actually real, meaning the customer still owned the car at that address. I remember when I bought my wife her first vehicle, this was 13, 14 years ago, I still get marketing from that dealership today. And that's just an example. Like, how many of you still get marketing from a store that you haven't had that car for years or whatnot? So it was going down the journey of first we need to cleanse our data, enrich it, and then we need to put it someplace. And every dealer in the country needs to do that, And everyone in here is sort of like, oh yeah, we're 10 years, ahead of you on that. But then it's like, all right, we need a CDP, and we need to make sure that the consumers that we have are getting the information when they need to get it, Because you touched on in what you just spoke on, what drives all of our decisions right now, it's customer experience. Customer experience is paramount, but at the same time, it's my employee experience too.
Yeah.
And so if one is good and one is bad, we're failing. They both need to be good because more is not always better.
Yeah.
And so that's a little bit of the journey so far, but yeah.
When we did, and I encourage you, I think the webinar that we did was fantastic. But one piece that I hadn't taken into consideration, we talked about, you talk about cars, and then like, look, I'm gonna get in market, I'm gonna spend, 20 days, 40 days, 60 days, whatever it is, whatever the time is to make the decision. But then you mentioned like the service, the regular service, and even I heard another automotive person today talk about collision, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like the idea of like, look, how do you wrap your arms around your customers so you can say, look, not only do I own the new car buy or the used car buy experience, but I want to own the loyalty of the service, and I want to own the loyalty of the collision. So now I'm at a point where a brand where whenever people are thinking about cars, they think about Rohrman, right?
Right. It has to be. I shared this stat in our talk that 70% of the cars on the road today service at independent service shops. I mean, that is a mind-boggling number if you think about it. 70% of the cars on the roads today do not service at a new car dealership. And why is that? I mean, my 2 cents on that is we dropped the ball years ago and we pushed. I mean, what came first? A new car dealership or a service center?
Right.
New cars. You had to sell them before you had to service them, right? And so the focus, in the 50s and 60s, 70s, and a little bit of the 80s was just how many cars can I sell? And now it's, the cars are getting so much better. The average car on the road today is 12 years old. It's never been that old. And through COVID, we saw that go up by 3 years. So now it's, I need you to come back and service at my dealership, but it's also, you know, I actually, one of my first jobs in automotive was changing oil. So I was a tech, and we changed oil every 90 days. Now I see a consumer once a year.
Yeah.
You know, just because technology in cars has gotten, the car tells you when to go in now to get service, not, oh, it's been 3 months or whatever it is. So we're losing our touch points that were standardized for years. So now technology, AI, we're able to connect with our consumers and be like, now you need to come in for service, or now this is what you need. And it's a unique message. Yeah. It's not the same message to all 50,000 people that we're emailing, and that's the power of it.
And it's a focus on the experience, right? It's a focus. Patrick, you want to say something?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that was really interesting when we started to talk about this use case and to learn about some of the details. So this buying journey, I think, in the automotive space is really interesting. It's not completely unique, right? Like if you think of even something like home improvement, right, where you are doing a big renovation early on, and then you have moments along the way where you may do maintenance or DIY projects. Or if you think even of like travel and hospitality, where you do sort of like, you know, milestone sort of travel where it may be honeymoons or a wedding, vacation, those types of things. But then you have your weekend trips, your smaller trips in between. These are all those touch points in between that allow you to build that brand loyalty. Mm-hmm. And so it does match pretty well into some of what you see in the auto buying experience. But right now, this industry is further behind. And this was one of the things that Ryan and I talked about is, you know, I love to, you know, pontificate about some of those advanced use cases. How can you bring AI to marketing? How can you really sort of be on the bleeding edge? And I know there are a lot of folks in this room that are looking at that as well. But at the core of this, you do have to get your data house in order, right? And so you need to understand who are your customers. You have to own that data, really get a detailed understanding of that, and then you can start to unlock some of those really interesting capabilities. So just being able to do that has driven a ton of great value here, and I think that's something that we're going to see very frequently in the automotive space.
Absolutely.
It's what you've done here, though, Ryan. I think which is, and I've got a question for you in a second about Snowflake specific stuff. But what you've done, Ryan, I think is really magical here. Is you've built some good partnerships, right? I'll call our partnership good, right? I'll be honest with you guys. I've seen these two guys more in the last couple weeks than I've seen my mom, right? So, but you've got Patrick on the Snowflake side, you've got me on the Telium side, and those are some of your big bets.
Yeah.
And it's important to be able to go in and say, okay, guys, you guys know your software. Yeah. You know a bit about my business now. We know a lot about your business now because you're very transparent, and you're very knowledgeable. Now, help me do the right things, right? Mm-hmm. Help me make the right choices. And so, Patrick, the question for you. So we've got great data collection. We've got data flowing into Snowflake. Now, talk to me about Snowflake and what are the exciting things that it brings to this equation and what you see from a value perspective, because we talked a little bit about yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Snowflake, we are the AI data cloud. So essentially we are a unified, scalable platform that can really deliver compute and storage at near infinite scale. And so we're helping customers across a variety of different industries drive things like advanced analytics, doing AI and ML, doing data engineering, data clean rooms. So a variety of different types of workloads. And of course, we also do data warehousing, which you're probably familiar with us and the legacy there. So these are some of the things that we're helping customers deliver, but at its core is that secure, governed platform and the ability to deliver that at scale. When we think about what we're doing for the marketing space, it is extremely partner-driven, right? So marketing teams typically are not in Snowflake. They're not using our UI. They're using Telium. They're using some of the other amazing partners that we have in this space to drive that value. But at the end of the day, Snowflake can act as that core place for customer record, and we're continuing to see customers shift their data gravity into Snowflake as the place where they own and control their data. So that's really the key value that we drive there. What's unique about the partnership that we have with Telium is the ability to really bring all of those interesting insights from those customer touch points. So web, mobile, the legacy that Telium has in that space is amazing. And we have an amazing integration that allows you to extremely efficiently bring that into Snowflake in near real time such that you can drive those use cases. And we're continuing to build from there. And so we're going to actually have now a bidirectional integration that will allow you to activate those insights out into things like the AI stream, your audience stream, and to all of the destinations that Telium has built. So that's what's there, and what ultimately will be unlocked is going to be some of those AI capabilities, but also all of those core marketing capabilities that customers are used to.
Awesome. And we've been spending a lot of time working, you referenced it, it's called Snowpipe. And we've been working to get the real-time streaming into Snowflake and then the real-time streaming out of Snowflake into Telium. And so, Ryan, talk to me about the timeliness of data, right? Because we do believe that the right data needs to get to the right place at the right time for the right activation.
Right. I mean, we live in a fast-paced world, so it's all about speed. And so the way that we're set up right now, so we use Snowflake, and we call that our single source of truth. So everything pushes into it, and then we use the Snowpipe, and we push that into Telium, and that is happening real time all the time. The other thing that I realize is inside of the auto space, how small of data that we actually have compared to other industries outside of our silo. And so what's so unique is we are able to market real time to these really small, I mean, we can market to a group of 10 customers.
Yeah.
Like that. You know, and it's that unique message that hits them when they need to see it. Instead of, in the past, we just do maybe a 50,000 email blast, right? Yeah. The same message to all 50,000 people, where now we have these little audience types that they need this message now, whether it's service, whether it's parts, whether it's sales, whether it's you have equity in your vehicle, you trade up, whatever. We don't need to mass market to all these people. And what we're seeing with that is the efficiencies of our overall platform are just, it's immense. We saw last year in automotive, sales are up, but expenses are up across the board for the entire industry, but not for us. And most of our savings came from these partnerships between Snowflake and Telium because of that efficiency. No more, and it's real time. I don't need to wait and set my month up, because that's what we used to do. We'd set our month up of, I'm going to deploy this here, and then the back of the end of the month is always busier, so I'm going to deploy another one here. No, it's, hey, when a customer falls into an audience type, deploy it. Why would you wait? And we can do that with CTV, OTV, mail, text. There's a lot of regulation, as you know, with text, so that's still minimal. Meta, whatever. Our Google AdWords, that whole is all going through audience typing now, instead of just, we're fishing efficiently versus just trying to cast this net out. And it's working. I mean, it's, at the end of the day, it works, and this is going to be our first full calendar year on it.
Yeah.
And we're already seeing it work inside of Q1. Q1 in automotive is never the best. It's the worst quarter of the year, hands down. It is every year. And we're already seeing what we are up after the 2 months into the year. It does not correlate to the rest of the auto industry. And so much of it is the process and the tech and the relationship it's all about opportunities. It's not about leads, it's about opportunities. And the relationship of a Snowflake to Telium, it drives opportunities, real time, to the person who needs to hear it, not just to this mass thing. And it's been an amazing journey. I mean, I'm 14 months into it, so I still feel like I only know what I know, but it works.
You're gonna see a lot more data coming your way, because you've started an automotive bandwagon,
yeah.
And there are a lot of fans that are following what you're doing, and they see kind of your fearlessness around this stuff. Mm-hmm. And every conversation I have, I think that the dealer community is ripe for a data share capability. Absolutely. Right? There's a lot of information about this. And I'll be honest, I love talking to these guys because they know exactly where we're going. I don't need this card anymore. So we talked a bit about widening the bottom of the funnel, and this Ryan is so confident. He's like, yeah, funnels should be cylinders, right?
Yeah.
Everything that goes in should come out, right? That's exactly right.
100%.
Patrick, talk about. You guys have a lot of companies at Snowflake, right? For various, a lot of different reasons, a lot of different, you guys cover everything. I go to meetings and I'll talk with people that are using data for something that has absolutely nothing to do with Telium. But when we're talking about just kind of this area, the customer data, the marketing data, things like that, talk to us a little bit about, I mean, we try to pride ourselves as a partner for you guys to try to put the best data that we can inside of Snowflake. And just to give these guys an understanding, like, you know, having a place where you have that single view and have that repository of data is great, but spending the time to get that higher quality data in, right? What it unlocks for your customers. I mean, you have to see this.
Absolutely, yeah. So Snowflake spends a lot of time working with clients around how can they actually unlock some of these new enterprise AI use cases within their organizations. And to your point, Mike, in a lot of cases, it's outside marketing, so it's across every corner of the organization. What's really interesting, I think, about MarTech, so I've been in this space for about 10 years, working with various MarTech vendors, partners in this space, as well as clients who are trying to launch these use cases. And what's been really interesting is companies like Telium and many others have focused on this, is actually making the customer data very clean, mapping it to individual customers and users such that you can drive these personalizations that matter. And I'll say over the years that has gotten even better, and the technology there is getting ever better, but it's actually pretty unique versus a lot of other parts of the organization. So just the fact that that data is clean, right? And we think about how Telium is approaching this, being able to map that to the person level, being able to ensure that it's consented and that you are complying with the right regulations for that industry, so that when it actually lands in Snowflake, you have cleaned, consented data. So that means that when you are actually building models, and we see a lot of organizations where the marketing team is running these interesting campaigns, but they have an internal data science team who's using Snowflake to build their own models. They're bringing in data from Telium, but from other sources as well, to create these propensity scores, these next best action scores, and all of those things are there. Having that clean data changes the way and the outcomes from those models in significant ways. And so combining that with some of the things that we have for Snowflake Intelligence and Cortex AI really does change the game. And so this together is a really valuable use case.
Ryan, you kind of are fearless in the space. It's pretty cool, right? You do have the entrepreneurial spirit. You're prioritizing your business. You've got some momentum under your belt, which is cool because that's a really easy way to keep you positive.
Yep.
But you're always upbeat, right? You're always excited about it. Even when I bump into your guys in the parking lot, and it's always like, "Hey, Mike, it's good to see you. How are you? Things? We got something we want to talk to you about, right?" I mean, it's like there's always an edge there, right? Like, what's the next thing we're going to go after? And there's no fear there, right? There's no fear. Talk to me about what you're most confident about right now, and then two-part question. And then tell me what you want to talk about at DV 2026.
What am I most confident about right now? So I would say I'm most confident about the direction we're going is the right direction. So owning your data and marketing to the consumer at the level where they're at, real time, it has to be where we go as an auto industry. And I say that because I just get this weird feeling that in this room I know there's tech companies all over the place, like they're like, well, yeah, no, you're dumb, for thinking that way. This is the space that we're in, in automotive. We don't do, so interesting, last week I was in a peer group, 18 dealers, and there's 250 dealerships in that. One of the dealers, the owner, he goes, "We love advertising. We spend a lot of money in advertising, too much money in advertising." And I was like, "Well, why is that?" And he's like, "Well, because we know 50% of it works." And I was like, "But we don't know it." But the problem is, we know that 50% of it works, but we don't know what 50% of it is. And I was like, "Well, you can now." And that's the beautiful thing about the efficiency of it. We can now, So now we can say we know if it works. So I love that. And so we've seen that. And the other thing that we're seeing is, for the longest time inside of automotive space on the retail side of it, we talk about lead conversion. Well, best in class lead conversion for the last decade has been like 10 to 12%. And I'm talking really more like internet, HTML formatted leads. We are so past that now. We've tripled that in 90 days. If I have a store at 10%, we have a problem. And why is that? It is because we have gotten a better, higher quality lead. And it's because of this relationship that it's driving, instead of just getting a hand raise or that an 18-year-old kid looking at a Corvette, do I want that lead?
Yeah.
Not really, because I'm wasting the time of my staff to try to do all the follow-up and everything else that they're doing. We want to get people, that's why that funnel concept, like in years past when I used to run a store, we always wanted this stuff at the bottom of the funnel because that's what converted. Now I want the stuff at the top of the funnel. And that's why when you and I talked and that last conversation is like, that funnel's not like this anymore. I can take it from here down because when I message or communicate with that consumer at the top of that funnel and I tell them or share with them a message that correlates and hits them where they're at right now, I get the loyalty there too.
Yeah.
And so then I can take them slowly down that funnel. And man, that lead is quality. It's great. And so I'm super confident that everything we're doing is driving a higher, better quality lead. And it's letting us get away from inside, I forget who I was talking with, one of your team members, but inside of automotive, we're held hostage many times even with tech partners. There's tech partners in automotive that don't go outside of automotive, and it's because they don't need to. It's too good for them. Why would they leave?
Yeah.
And so it's been eye-opening to me to get outside of it and find partners like Telium and Snowflake, and even our market activation. We're using another company that's not automotive based, and it's better.
Yeah.
And so I think next year, the things that I'm trying to figure out is this: how can I drive more, better, cleaner leads, and at the same time, how can I get more PII into my Snowflake? Because the more, the bigger my audience types get, the bigger those cleaner, better leads will get. And so that is the challenge right now. How can I continue to get more PII? We completely changed our entire tech stack summer of last year so that Telium's tags can work on them all. So for the longest time, we never knew anything about abandoned shopping cart. Nothing with it. Come to find out, on a service scheduler, only 30% of consumers actually follow through. Where'd the other 70% go?
Yeah.
We have an answer now. I didn't have an answer even 90 days ago. We're actually marketing, activating that as an audience type. And because it's not that they started that journey because they didn't want to make an appointment. It's because their boss walked in and they had to close their phone, or someone called me.
Just life got in the way.
We're busy. Yeah. And so a year from now, I don't know if I have the answers to all that stuff, but that's what I'm trying to do is how can we get more PI into Snowflake that'll market and create a better lead type, opportunity type for the stores. Because when that happens, it's going to revolutionize the entire auto space. I don't need companies like Auto Trader and Cars.com, and because it should come off from my website.
Yeah.
And so we're already seeing that happen. So that's the direction I want to see it go.
You're already breaking the averages, right?
Yeah,
right.
we are.
There's no ceiling. Patrick, last question for you. What do you want to talk about at DV 2026?
Oh, wow. Well, first of all, this is my second year here. It's amazing. I love coming to San Diego, much better than another conference in a Vegas hotel. The hospitality's been great, so hats off to the events team for a great job. But I think the theme that I'll raise, and it's emerging in some of the conversation here, is that as we transition into an era of data and AI, I think some key things are really going to emerge and be critical business drivers. And so there are three things that come to mind for me. One is data quality. We talked a lot about that and how important that is, and you'll continue to hear that at DV. The other, I think, is just trust, right? And so trusting the output from some of these models. So being able to understand data provenance, where did this data come from? Related to data quality, but I think a different level and a different way to view it. And then the other is something that Snowflake has spent a lot of time, and it's essentially silos. And we've thought about it from the perspective of data silos, so breaking those down, bringing and unifying all of your data. That's going to be increasingly critical. But more important now is actually the silos within organizations. So as we start to see marketing and data teams need to actually work together better, and the partnership that we have with Telium is helping us bring those teams together because now the platforms are more unified. And we're going to continue to see that across the organization. So those things around quality, trust, and silos, I think, are really going to emerge as some of the key themes as we move into this AI world.
Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Yeah,
it's a pleasure. Same time next week.
Yes, let's do it.